I'm Rob Skinner, and this is the Rob Skinner Podcast. On this episode, I talked to Jacob Galligan. Jacob is a grad student at Kent State University in Akron, Ohio. He went on the mission team to Akron in 2016 as a freshman at the university there. He started reaching out, and then his senior year became the self-supporting ministry intern for the church. The campus ministry has grown, and they've converted a ton of men. They've done an amazing job. I met him at the recent Climb Small Church Leadership Conference and was very impressed. People were talking about this young man who's 23, who's doing such a great job as a student intern leading his campus ministry. You'll find out his secret. He talks a lot about prayer. He talks about his outreach. He talks about what he's done and what he believes campus ministries need to grow. All this and more on the Rob Skinner Podcast. Welcome back to the Rob Skinner Podcast. My goal is to inspire you to live a no-regrets life, make this life count, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. Last December, I went to the Climb Small Church Leadership Conference and had a great time with small church leaders, campus leaders, people who want to do missionary work. And one of the things that kept popping up is people were mentioning a young guy from Ohio who is really cranking his campus ministry. Several people mentioned it to me, and they said his name was Jacob. And so I contacted Jacob. I didn't get a chance to talk to him during the conference itself, but followed up with him afterwards and said, hey, let's talk about it. And it's really impressive because he's grown his campus ministry as a student. He's a grad student now. He finished undergrad, but he's led the campus ministry while he's gone to school. They've converted a bunch of men, and the ministry has grown consistently over the course of COVID. Jacob, welcome to the program.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Good to be here.
How did you become a Christian?
I was a Kingdom kid. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and my parents were both converted there in Cincinnati. My dad became a disciple in the Miami University ministry, and he became a disciple young. And then my mom, became a disciple. They met there at some point. So, I grew up in the church, but as the church letter kind of came out in around 2003 or so, my parents got divorced, and my mom didn't want to be a part of the church anymore, and so she split up. And so I kind of was raised with both parents, but my dad kept us going to church. And so he stayed a part of the church and he kept us going. So I had that. I wasn't someone that was, wanting or desiring or really cared, much for God growing up. I kind of didn't really, wasn't too interested in it. And I was, already diagnosed with ADHD at a young age. So very hard for me to focus and read, if it wasn't, something I had to do. So that was kind of just, how it went for me growing up. And then I just didn't really know much of the Bible, honestly, until I came into the teen ministry. The most exposure I got was at church camps. And I knew God was important. I knew it was something, a lot of people got baptized, and I knew that was important. But I didn't really know what any of this was about. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what it really looked like. I knew I wasn't a Christian. I knew that for sure. So around my ninth grade year, when I went to teen camp, it was my first teen camp, and it was just really powerful. It really impacted me. The lessons were super powerful, and I really was like, man, this seems like what I want. I really want to know Jesus. I want to know these this man that these people are so in love with, that they get so much purpose and zeal and just excitement out of. I was like, there has to be more to life than what I'm, living, because, my life was just run by impurity, just selfishness, just all these things. And I just felt like a slave. I just felt so ashamed, just so like, to myself, and just, I had just struggled with so much self-esteem and things. And so I just had a very low view of myself, and just really thought only my parents could love me, and it was just, and then when I saw God, and when I saw him in the scriptures, when I saw who he was, um, it was just amazing. Like after that teen camp, I was still very shy. So I didn't ask anyone to study the Bible, and then no one really approached me. So I kind of just did my own thing my freshman year. And then someone finally asked me. I studied the Bible. My team leader, Chase McIntosh, he really helped me to see who Jesus was. And I just kind of fell in love. I just started reading the scriptures like I'd never read before. Like I'd really never picked up the Bible on my own and really see what it said. And so I read through, the Gospels. I read through all this stuff, went through the Bible studies, and it was just amazing. Obviously I was only 14 years old, so there's a lot I still had to learn. I had a lot of immaturity, I just didn't understand grace very well. But that was a lot of how I became a Christian, and it transformed my whole life. And, I had to cut off certain friendships, certain things. I just really was like, man, I got to be all in with this. Because I didn't really have all the knowledge or whatever. I know the right answers. I was just like, why would I be trying to fake this? So I just wanted to be either all in or, not. And so that was kind of just it from a young age. And that's kind of how I kind of became a Christian.
How old are you now?
23.
23. Okay, so you became a Christian about 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
How did you end up in Akron, Ohio? You raised in Cincinnati. How'd you get to Akron?
Yeah, it's a funny story. So, as I kind of went through the years, I had my struggles in my faith. Around my junior year of high school, I wasn't doing so well, just not very committed, not very devoted, really just kind of feeling stuck, not really feeling connected to God. And they were talking a lot about this Akron mission team. They're saying, oh, if you're going to be graduating in 2016, you should really think about going on this Akron mission team. And I was like, I do not want to go. I was like, I'm going to stay in Cincinnati. I just don't want to go. I was like, what is up there? I was like, just sounds hard and difficult. And I just, not in a spiritual mindset. So I just really wasn't thinking about what God wanted. I was just kind of like, oh, Cincinnati, I'll just go here, do an accounting degree or something. I don't know. I was just thinking very simple, very comfortable. And then kind of around my senior year, God really started he was trying to get to me the whole time, but I really started just humbling me. It really started helping me see like, man, how amazing he really was. I think it was a time when I just was reading the Bible, and I read Luke 9, where it talks about denying yourself and carrying the cross and being someone that spreads his word. And I just was feeling so ashamed that I wasn't doing that. And I really was feeling like I wasn't giving my all, wasn't making every effort, really wasn't in love with God. And I just really, after that moment, I was like, God, I want this to be real. I want everything that you have, and I just was like, I want to go all in. So that was near the beginning of my senior year. And then as they kind of started talking more about it, Doug Lambert would talk a lot about the Akron planning. He was, pushing for it. They would do, they'd have our church leader now, who's Rob, they had him come and he did a lesson on it, trying to recruit people. And I was already all in at that point. But just once I had that kind of shift of mind and that real, I think, repentance, honestly, where I kind of started living from God's love instead of out of fear and just kind of doing it, out of just knowing this is what I should do. And that's when it really shifted for me. I really was like, I just want to do whatever God wants me to do. And I was like, I'll go to a hard place. I'll go somewhere where it's hard, And so kind of from then I was just like, I want to go to Akron. And then one of my good friends who has lived in Cleveland, he was saying, I'm going to go to Kent State. And I was like, where is that? What is that? I was like, where is that? And so I didn't even know Kent State existed, which is where I go now. And so I originally was thinking I'm just going to go to Akron University or University of Akron, whatever. And then I found out about Ken. We kind of decided to go together. Me and my one of my really good friends. We were both the same year, so we ended up dorming together and just going to help plan it at the same time. So
So that was a new church planting in 2016?
yeah, like right when I got there, it was like a month in, basically. They had just had their like kind of first couple park services.
There was no church there, or were there disciples there prior to that?
So it's close to Cleveland. It can be an hour to 40 minutes to an hour away from Cleveland. So there was a couple of disciples near in the area, but it wasn't like there was a house church there or anything. I think the disciples all just went to Cleveland if they lived in that area.
Okay. And Rob Cochran was the mission leader?
Yep.
Okay. Fantastic. Now, I just have got to ask because Akron is a home of a very famous person. And I've
Yep.
just got to ask you, have you ever spotted LeBron James while you're there in Akron?
Well, if you count going to a Cavs game and being in the nosebleed seats and seeing him from there, I have spotted him. Um, but I guess I vicariously saw him through someone else. I studied the Bible with this guy right before COVID hit. It was actually right before everything closed down, and he actually worked as part of his internship or something at the I Promise school that LeBron started. And so he actually told me he saw him a couple times and like was right next to him or got to like, I don't know, shake his hand or something. I don't know what he got to do, but he told me about some of those things. So he started a school here in Akron for kids that are underprivileged youth that don't have whatever. And he kind of funded all of that. So LeBron started that, and the guy I studied with told me about that whole program and what it was like working there. So that was pretty cool. But that's pretty much all. I never got to actually meet him or do any of that stuff.
That's awesome. Just had to
Yeah.
ask. Now
Yeah.
you're a grad student at Kent State. So you finished your undergrad, you're in grad school now. Kent State is very famous in the States for something that happened in 1970. Can you share what made it famous?
Yeah, so it's famous for not such a great event. It's in the May 4th, 1970. It's if you go on campus, you'll see it everywhere. But they have all these memorials and stuff. Essentially, I'm pretty sure it was the Vietnam War was going on, or one of them. I'm pretty sure it was that one. And the National Guard was, everyone was protesting. Everyone was like, no, we don't want this. Stop the war, all of that. And the National Guard was sent on campus. And then, through some kind of miscommunication or mishearing of words, I think they thought someone said fire, and into an open crowd where there was no weapons. The, civilians, they were just protesting peacefully. There was no weapons, no hostility. And they just started shooting, and they shot into a bunch of people, and they killed 4, and they injured, I don't know how many, but, I think over 10. And it was just a whole, National Guard that somehow got misled to shoot at students that were unarmed. And it was, kind of a tragedy. And so it's very famous in a way that's like, we should never let this happen again,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah. Neil Young wrote a very famous song about it. I think it's called Four Dead in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So aside from that, can you describe what's happened since you arrived in 2016? It's been 5-6 years now, 5.5 years or so.
Yeah, 5.5 years. So it's been a lot of different things. It almost doesn't feel like I had, this is kind of my home now. I don't even remember as much, beforehand. I mean, I do, but kind of starting out, it was just me and my roommate. And then we had another person that became a Christian, that was a Kingdom kid that was already going there the year beforehand, but she had just become a Christian. She was from California. And so we had her on Kent State's campus. It was us 3. And then there was another one at University of Akron that was going there also for a year prior. And so, yeah, but it was mainly me and my roommate as the guys, and then the 2 other girls. And then there was about, I think, 30 plus people in the start, maybe 40. So it was a pretty big church planning. I don't know if I'm including, kids and everything. I'm trying to think of just the people that were there, but maybe in the upper 30s and maybe, you know, early 40s for how many people. But yeah, so we came up and it was kind of just us. There was no real campus leader. Rob would help try and lead, us as much as he could or invite us over, X, Y, and Z. But there was no one, you know, coming on campus like Noah's our campus minister. But we did have a lot of help from the young singles and whoever was there. They would come reach out a lot of time and help set up Bible talks. So it wasn't like we were just stranded. So we had a lot of help. And that's how some sisters got baptized in the first year. A couple sisters got baptized. We helped baptize a guy. He isn't longer faithful, but he was a part of our ministry for a few years. We helped baptize him. It was all the ministries in Pennsylvania came one weekend to do their retreat at Kent State in Akron, and they just reached out the whole weekend, which I thought was phenomenal. We really needed that, and so I met the first guy we ever baptized there, and so yeah, that's kind of how it all started, and we just moved from there. It was a very challenging time in my life. My dad had just gotten remarried and moved to London, and he was the closest person I was to in my life, and so he was just getting remarried. So I didn't see him for almost 2 years because of his visas and everything, kind of being all messed up after he got married and moved there. But yeah, it was a hard time, but it was a very, I think, pruning time, and a very time where those first couple of years were just very challenging. I was kind of figuring out a lot of things in my faith. Had a lot of doubts, had to go through a lot of, things. And it was just challenging, a lot of challenges with just some of the people in the church not feeling as connected. And I think God used all that to really help me to just want him and to see that it's not about people X, Y, or Z, but you just really got to be the one to, make it all about him. And then everything will flow from that. And so he kind of humbled me in a lot of ways the first couple of years. And so the growth was, was good. It was pretty steady for a couple of years. We get couple people here and there. And it was just good. And then we got a campus intern for a year, my second year, and that was really helpful for us. I thought about leadership at times, but it was just kind of like, I was just so, I was very shy. I was very I led in the teens at times. I led many Bible talks and lessons, but, I wasn't thinking, oh, let me just lead a ministry right now. So we had people helping us, but it was, it kind of just went from there, and, we just kept doing our thing, and kind of just the years went by and more people became disciples. And then the guy that was our intern, he got married, so he had to move. So it was kind of just us. And then they had this idea, well, let's make you guys interns, some of you guys interns, and then one week these people will lead, and then the other week you'll lead. And so that kind of happened for a year. And then it was like, maybe we should just go to one group of people. So then I eventually started leading so that's been for about the past 3 years I was leading. So I started leading like my senior year, and that's just how I have been up to this point. So, but yeah, there was some tough times, and, I guess right into COVID, we knew we were studying the Bible with a good amount of people and just had a lot of connections. So right when everything kind of shut down, we had all these connections already. So the baptisms kind of just came from all that, like some of these connections. And then once things start opening up more, those people knew people, and we kind of just, came from that. And some of the people that we baptized, they had siblings that wanted to become Christians and all sorts of things like that. So they baptized a couple of their siblings, and it was just kind of a chain of events. So yeah, it kind of grew, and then it was just amazing unity that we had around those couple of years. We'd be together all the time. We, just spend time all the time in the library. We'd be there till midnight studying with all of each other, just on all the finals. It was really a family. We all knew each other. We kind of got sick of each other at times, because we were just around each other so much, and we really were focused on the mission together too. We'd always be reaching out. We'd always be really, trying to get that emphasis. I'd be reaching out to my classes. I'd be seeing what I could do. I'd be like, can I speak to the whole class? Can I do this? Who can I share with, So those are kind of some of the things, just kind of leading up. And what was the question again? Sorry.
Well, just, the growth of the ministry, the baptisms. So it just started with two people, two students, you and your buddy. Mm-hmm. And then there's a person who was there the prior year. How big is the ministry now? How big is the campus ministry and then the church overall?
Yeah, I think we have about 11 in our campus ministry now. And church overall, I think we're in the upper 60s. So I think mid 60s to upper 60s, if I had to. Yeah, that's what I think it is right now. So it definitely has grown. And just in this past year, we just had 3 guys get baptized. And then, during 2020, we had a couple guys get baptized, some followaways, but it's just been consistent. And then, just a lot of connections are made through those baptisms. And we've had, I could tell stories about all these guys that I've been baptizing. Like one guy I baptized, we've done almost 8 or 9 studies with people he's known. We've studied the Bible with his mom, with all of his friends. He's like, I want all of them to get baptized this year. He's got like 14 people he wants to, really know God. He's from Cleveland. And so he drives all the time to get here, 40 minutes away, just to be with the body. And it's like, I didn't even tell him that he just does this, He's just like, we're doing a Bible study and we got pretty far with one of his friends. He just goes to a different university that's kind of far. But he studies the Bible with his mom. He does all these things. And there's him. And then another guy we just baptized that reaches out. He's got his fraternity he was in. So he's been reaching out to all the guys in his fraternity. We've already done a Bible study. He's already started leading some I'm trying to get him to. And just all these guys that we've been meeting and just really are fired up and just have a zeal and a really desire to make the lost really, know God, help the lost know God.
One thing I thought was interesting is it from what you had told me, there's been a lot of guys converted. You've converted a lot of men. Mm-hmm. How do you do that? What's helped you to grow your ministry and convert guys in particular?
Yeah. I guess some of them said it and they're just like, yeah, it just felt really genuine. When we came around, everyone just really seemed there just was a good atmosphere and they just felt like they knew people cared about them. And so that's always kind of what I've just gone by. It's just really treating every person like they're the most important. I really just kind of go after that. Whenever I meet someone, I really just try and make a connection with them and treat them just like, you have all my time right now. I'm just going to make you valued and try to invite you to my home, invite you for, share a meal with you, cook for you, whatever, and they just felt like, man, this means I'm a part of this family now, and so they felt that as they would study the Bible or as they'd come around or, even just my roommates we'd have that would be non-Christians, they'd see it and they would want to become Christians because of it, and it's just kind of, that was some of it. And then, I'd go to the gym a lot and I just try and build relationships with the people I play basketball with and just do that over time and really, just try and have genuine conversations with them, but also just really get to know them and really just share with them how God's changed me, and just not trying to do it in a way where it's just like they feel like it's just another religious thing, but just really help them to see the power of God. And then I think just inviting people in, just telling people to come and see. Those are some of the big things. And I think when people see the integrity or they see the genuineness, I think that's really what people are looking for. And that's really what I try to emulate. I really just try and be myself as much as I can to people. I know I'm probably not perfect at it, but that seems to be what people are really looking for these days, is someone that is honest with their faith. And even if they struggle to be honest with those things, not to be someone that acts like you have it all together, but to really share those things. And then they feel they can be more real and vulnerable with you.
Okay. So you reach out to people through your interest, basketball. You also do cold contact, making announcements and just trying to look for opportunities. So you kind of have a a both and strategy? Like I'm going to just try a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's kind of how I go with it. Is just I'll reach out to people as I go to the coffee shop. I just started studying with this guy. I felt the spirit just telling me to reach out to him, and I did. And he's awesome. We just started studying a couple weeks ago, and he really wants it, and he really wants to know. And I just kind of as I go here and there, I'll be at a coffee shop or I'll be just walking somewhere, or I'll just be on campus, and then
Tell
my
me
classes as
what
well.
what will you say? Tell me how you start a conversation with somebody. Had this guy in the coffee shop. What'd you say?
Oh, I mean, it's nothing crazy. I just kind of come up to him and um, I'll just be like, hey, I don't know if something, depends on kind of the vibe, or, if someone's chilling or if they're looking there in a rush, but I'll just be like, hey, I don't know if that's something that would interest you guys, but I'm part of a Bible study or something, on campus. And I, really just kind of help people learn more about faith and God. And kind of just to break the ice, let's be like, what do you guys think about that? Like, or what do you think about, Jesus? Do you have a faith in him? Do you know what it means to follow him? Kind of just, a general question about that, and
Right.
then see what they say.
So
And then just
something
kind of start a
something
conversation.
fairly direct. Just asking good questions.
Yeah. And sometimes depending on where it is, if I'm at a gym, I might be a little bit more like just getting to know them first.
Right.
If I'm approaching someone, they're kind of like, what's your, what are you talking to me about?
Right.
Um, so I usually get more to the point just so they're not feeling like, what is this, but yeah, so just depending on the environment, I think I just kind of changed how I'll speak to people. But yeah, I guess when I'm approaching people, it's usually a little more direct. I'll introduce myself, or a lot of the times these days, all the kids are wearing AirPods now, so I have to really like wave my hand in their face.
Right.
They can't
Right.
hear me. They can't, they
Right.
got hoods on, and it's really cold out here, so everyone's wearing a lot of layers, and it's hard to see. So I really kind of have to almost jump in their pathway.
Right. Now,
So yeah,
Is Kent State a public school or is it private?
it's public. Yeah, it's public. It's yeah.
Okay, so it's a part of the Ohio State system, or
Hmm.
University of Ohio at Kent State, or Kent State
What do you
University,
mean? Yeah, it's a state university. Yeah.
State University. Okay, got it. Now, what really impresses me, Jacob, is that you're a student leader, and during a pandemic, and you're growing your ministry. How do you balance it?
Oh man.
I mean, just what's
There's
that? What's that like? I mean,
yeah.
okay, you're a kingdom kid. You're a student. You could just sit back and go, hey, Rob, send someone on campus. I'm just going to go to school, and I'll do a little bit of sharing here and there. But you've really sunk your teeth into this campus ministry.
Yeah.
Uh, what, talk to me about that.
Yeah. I guess, kind of over the years, I didn't have as much passion for it, but I did a couple internships. I did one in Lexington. Shout out to Greg Campbell. He really helped me develop my faith, and really helped me develop my leadership skills, and just my heart for the lost too. Some internships there, one in Louisville as well. Um, and it was just, those really helped me to kind of see like, if I'm not going to do this, no one else is.
Mm,
and it wasn't even just oh, I guess I have to, but at some points it was. But God really helped me to just now really have a heart. Like maybe at first it was like, okay, I got to do this. And at times it was very hard, especially during the peak of COVID. It was probably the hardest time, when no one wanted to go on Zoom, and everyone's just like, zoomed out, and no one wants to do anything. And I'm the one that's supposed to bring everyone together. And there's all these other problems going on, and just a lot of things clashing together. And I've got to do school and finish my program and do all these things. So I could get overwhelmed easy, but I think I really just had to rely on God. And what really helped me was just this focus of John 15, and more scriptures than just this one, but this idea of really staying rooted in the vine. Because it's very simple in that scripture. You just see, he says, if you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. It'll show you to be my disciples. This is to my Father's glory. And as I kind of did that, just fell more in love with Jesus and with, God, and just saw the Spirit work. I was just like, I can't hold back on this. I just got to really let him do what he's got to do. And at times I myself would get in the way, and I'd really just have to just cry out to God and really just let him prune me and just work through me and really just humble me. And it was hard. It was hard because I felt alone in a lot of it. I felt like I was by myself. I didn't really know many other leaders, and having, some other problems and, co-leading and just some other stuff. But I could feel alone, even though I wasn't. But I didn't know many other people, and I didn't have any much connection. So it was kind of just like, it was tough at times, but I think God really helped me to lean on him during that time. And that John 15 scripture really that was what really guided me, just this idea of remaining in Christ.
That's so interesting. You brought that up before, and I was really impacted because I had just read John 15 the day that I called you to talk about this conversation. What does it mean to you? So what you're saying is just focus on remaining in Jesus, and then bearing fruit is kind of a function of remaining. But what does it mean to you to remain in Jesus? Like how do you interpret that?
Yeah. I can share some of that. Yeah. I think for me, it's always been a little bit easier for me to connect with God's love. Sometimes harder, but just the way my dad really loved me, just how he really poured his whole heart out for me, and how he went through so much, just being a single father for like most of my life, and just really having to fight for our faith, to help us. And just seeing God's love was always easy to look at, because I could just look at how my dad, treated me. And so I think about just remaining in that love. Every time I would remain in just knowing I'm his son, knowing I'm loved, and knowing I was cared for, and my value, my identity was in that. That would be the times I would really want to just go all in. When I just saw the cross and saw the power of it, and saw just that sacrifice, because we've heard it so many times, it can lose its power. We say that all the time about stuff, but when you see it in other stuff, someone sacrificing their lives for someone else, you are like, wow, look at what they did. But really it put in perspective for me how he gave so much, and that remaining in him, it was really kind of, I just had to do it all the time. Like I just have to be praying a lot more than I used to, and to get it on my knees, really just having to go just cry out to him. Like I would just be having to, it was a lot of stuff, but it wasn't just like I could just get by just praying little casual prayers. I had to really pour my heart out and really just look at the scriptures and see, through David, through many other people, and just what it looks like to pour your heart out to God, and to really connect with him. And I think that really helped me. I'm currently reading a book called Guilty Soul's Guide to Grace, which is phenomenal, by Sam Lang. And that really reemphasized that idea of praying the Psalms. And that really helps me to connect with God, to pray these Psalms, or to even create my own kind of Psalms as I pray, to really guide me. That can be some of the things. And I love to play music as well. That's a big one that connects me, as I learned how to play the ukulele over quarantine. And just kind of playing worship songs. That would be something that would really, I think we've lost, a lot of our power in worship, just singing to God, seeing how important that was to David and to, other people in our quiet times. I have at times. And that's a big thing, because just there's something about singing to God that really connects us, especially when we're vulnerable with it, when we really, get to do that. So those are some of the big ones. And then another one is I usually needed to get time to be away. I just started doing recently, is really taking retreats and journeys just by myself, to go into a campsite or the woods and just spend days just praying, just being with God, singing to him, pleading with him to change my heart, to transform my mind, to help other people become Christians. Really not relying so much on what I can do, but on what God can do through me, and through prayer, really just seeing like Elijah, when I just read this, actually, when he prayed 3.5 years, it didn't rain because he was trying to show the power of God over the God of Baal, from back, in the time of, the Old Testament. And God just delivered it because it was his will to be glorified. And I see that that's his will, to just make more disciples right now. That's his will, is to see that. So if we really, pray and just let God, he wants this to happen. He wants multiplication. He wants these things to happen. I think we just got to get on his page. He's waiting on us. That's what I was kind of seeing. It's not the COVID, it's not this or that. He's waiting on us to really become faithful again. It's not about, I guess, all these certain techniques and tips and tricks I could tell you. I mean, those are helpful and things. But I think really getting a heart again and faith for the lost through prayer. I mean, and just admitting and being honest when we're not, because I've had to do that so many times, just being like, God, I'm just not really loving these people. I'm just having a hard time. And I think just that has been something I've had to learn, is just to be vulnerable, honest, and just personal as much as you can with God. And you know, that's really what's helped me.
Wow.
And if I don't get that, I need almost a couple hours every day just to really get that full time, or I feel like I'm rushing it, because there's so much to unpack every
Right.
day.
Right.
Yeah.
So praying the Psalms,
Mm-hmm.
praying through music, playing worship
Mm-hmm.
music,
Mm-hmm.
the ukulele. You go out on solo retreats. Those are all great practicals. Being with God, spending extra time with God, even up to a couple hours with God, if
Mm-hmm.
not more.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive that you're doing that as a grad student. What are you studying, and what was your undergrad?
Yeah, I'm studying counseling right now, specifically clinical mental health counseling. And yeah, I'm about a year and a half in. So I'm set to graduate in around next August.
This
Yeah,
coming
I've been doing,
August this year?
not this year, it'd be next. Oh yeah, next year of August. So
Okay.
2023.
And what was your undergraduate degree in?
It was psychology. I did nursing for a little bit, but then I realized I wanted to switch.
Got it. If you found out someone dropped $10 million into your bank account tomorrow and you never had to worry about money,
Mm,
what would you do with the rest of your life?
yeah. And I didn't even mention this about spiritual books, but I love reading spiritual books. That's another one that I would add on my list, is just really going after finding some great ones, because they give some great perspectives, and they've helped me to kind of break through some of the, if I get in a monotony in reading my Bible, where I'm just kind of reading it, like sometimes hearing someone kind of be wake me up, be like, oh, you're just kind of reading this, that helps me to really kind of see things I haven't seen before. But the reason I say that for this question is because if I could do whatever I want, I think I would definitely do counseling. I've been realizing I love it as I just started kind of seeing real clients. I really have a heart to want to help people that have been caught in sex trafficking, the sexual abuse that kind of comes from that, seeing how big of a problem it is around the world, and just how where do those women do when they come out of that? Like, how do they, feel feel like they belong, or come back to regular society? They need a lot of help. And they can just feel like unwanted. That's one of the big ones that I would really want to have some kind of ministry in. And then also just really helping out all around the world. I'd love to, help the poor wherever, and really preach the gospel wherever I could go. I really see God kind of continuing to help mold me, if it's his will to continue in ministry and leading. And I love it so much. As I see this ministry growing, as I see it really becoming their own, and these guys, it's just like, this is the best, really being in a place where growth is expected and growth is happening, and people love God and really just love to see the church grow. That's what it was always meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where I want to be, just anywhere where that's happening, and I get to do that, and I get to counsel people and, just be a light. Um, and I really do want to be an author someday. I'm thinking of, potentially, I don't know what it'd be about, but I love reading and I love storytelling. So I don't know what it would be about, but I do want to write if I had some time. So yeah, that's kind of some of the things.
That sounds great. Go overseas, become
Hmm.
a counselor in helping women come out of the sex trade, and then maybe
Hmm.
being an author. Those sound like awesome things.
Hmm.
Tell me what you've learned from Rob Cochran, who leads your church.
Oh yeah, he's he's taught me a lot of good things. He really cut through a lot of my like kind of like I don't know how to say it, but like spiritual like facades and stuff. Like he really just he doesn't he really helps to cut through sentimentality. Of and he can be known for being like but like more serious and just like clear cut. But like honestly, that helped me because I could just be so like ambiguous a lot of things in the scriptures or like when trying to lead and when trying to help people like and he really just helped me to just be like no, this is what you need to do. I was like all right, that's going to be hard, but he just kind of and he really helped do it in not a way that was condemning to me or made me feel like whatever. He always was just so gentle. He was always so really just believing in me and really helping me to see that this is your ministry. He was like, this is what you're going to make it,
Mm.
and really believe that God can do anything. He always had a focus on prayer as well. We did a whole series on it at one point, and we're about to do one this year again as well. So he always really helped me to just see that it's all about simple faith. He's like, you can have the best singers, you can have the blah, 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 you can have all this, but if you don't have that simple faith, then what do you really have?
Right.
It's not about having all the cosmetics, but just about real, genuine faith that changes the world. And
Mm.
that's what people really want. Some other people really want like all that, but they don't really want God.
Mm.
What you really need to just have is that simple, genuine faith that just is like, I'll see a mountain moved if I really believe it. And that's what he really kind of instilled in me.
Mm.
It's just like, just share your faith every day, confess, be open, really stay in the light, and God will move. I was like, all right, you know.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so that's some of the things he taught me, just how to be more direct, but also gentle while doing it, because I always had a problem with just being very indirect, being uncomfortable with confrontation. And he really helped me with that. Um, I mean, it's still something I have to grow in, but he really helped me with a lot of those things.
Jacob, if you were to walk into a different situation, different campus, start all over again with just a few
Hmm.
people, or if someone came up to you and asked, "Hey, what would you do if you're in my situation?" Say starting a campus ministry or reviving a campus ministry.
Hmm.
What would be the first three things you'd do? What would you focus on?
Man, I think the main focus would just be prayer. As simple as that sounds, we're even going over in a book right now, a leadership principle book, where the first thing he said was to pray, and everyone's like, okay, yeah, we know to do that. But like, he's like, well, then why are so few of us doing it? Why are so few of us really relying on this? And he kind of got at this one idea. I mean, it can be many for different people, but of skepticism, that we really don't know if we believe that God is really going to do what we ask. That if do we really believe, hey, God, if I pray for 10 baptisms this year, if we go all out, that you can do that, depending on the size of your church, like, and really faithfully just running with him on that. I think really setting everyone's expectations and helping everyone in that small ministry planning really get a solid grasp first on prayer, to really not be on whatever it may be, just like, all right, we just got to do a lot of stuff, really, we're really setting that mindset on prayer and reliance on God. And then I think also just helping people to really build that compassion. And that obviously happens through prayer, but I think really helping people to own that ministry, really helping people to think, oh, you're not just whatever. You're not here just for school. You're here to make disciples. You're here on this planet to make disciples and to change the world, and really, I guess, shaping that culture in that way. to really right off the bat, don't let people just get comfortable and to do whatever. Really start being like, no, you need to set that foundation first, or people are just going to do what, get into what their groove and routine, be like, oh, this isn't as important, or oh, he's just saying something. You need to make sure people are on that same page when they're coming, and really help them to get that same vision, and make sure and really disciple people's hearts and be like, are you really like, and just, be honest with each other, even if you're not there either, really helping God, or letting God help you to all be on that same, you got the same mission. Everyone's number one goal is to love God first, of course, but then really to change the world by loving people. As simple as it sounds, that's really what Jesus wanted us to do first.
That's right.
And then I think that, of course, of love of focus on God, but I think really, really being okay. What I'm trying to do now is really being okay with being around people in the world, not in a sense that I'm trying to surround myself all the time with them, but in a way where you get to impact them. Really, because I've been seeing it, and we've been talking about in our leadership that just a lot of the churches around the world are just only hang out with disciples. And if we only do that, we're not going to make any more disciples. We really have to start inviting these people into our lives, inviting the people we're studying the Bible with to hang out with us, inviting them to do this and that, inviting, even if they're not studying the Bible, just be like, hey, you want to just come over to my place, for just really having this mindset of just immersing ourselves, in all these little hobbies or clubs, or, whatever they be. Your class is not just seeing it as a place you go to, talk to people for 5 seconds and then leave, but really that's what I would do over the years. I would just pick a couple people in my classes, and I would just start talking to them, build a relationship over the semester, reach out to them, and I start seeing those people everywhere I go. Like I'll run into them here at the coffee shop, but one person's working there, and I have all these disconnections because I just, like, where I was at, I would just try and see the people, and so I think just not thinking it has to be all cold contact, but really just, making it about friendships with people, and that's what people remember.
That's awesome. It surprised me that you went to the Climb Small Church Leadership Conference. You're a student. Mm-hmm. You brought some friends with you, is what I understood. You brought a couple friends.
Yeah.
You're not a church leader. You're not in the professional ministry. Why'd you go, and what'd you take away from that leadership conference?
Yeah, I went just because I heard about it. I think in one of the campus ministers grouped me, and I just was like, man, I have to go. I mean, because my ministry was starting to grow. I was really starting to see God do something amazing, just growth wise and just as a whole. And I was like, man, I need to make connections, but I also just want to make sure I'm equipped. I really just wanted to get equipped. And I really wanted my people that I saw to raise up, become leaders, to be the same way. I didn't know fully what it was, so it was mainly for the people in the ministry, but I saw everything that was going to be, all the testimonies, people from previous ones, and it just sounded amazing. And I was like, this sounds like, because I have future interest in ministry. So I was like, man, if I want to go anywhere, I could probably learn more here in a couple of days than I learned in years, so I was just wanted to go, and I got funded, people from our church, or they gave some of their money, or at least Rob gave up some of his money so that I could go, because he wasn't able to. And then other people in other churches funded for more people to go, because they wanted the young leaders to be raised up. So it kind of just all came together, and I had a lot of work to do, actually, schoolwork while I was there. So I was trying to do some stuff while I was there, and it wasn't working out too well. But when I got back, I had a lot to catch up on, but it was worth it. And some of the things I got out of it was just to really be anchored, and to really learn how to rest, and to find this rhythm between, going all out in ministry and really resting, and not being guilty to rest or to take time off and to do that. That was one of the biggest things, because that's the one thing that's been burning me out at times, is just not, because it's harder for me, because I don't get a Monday off. I'm doing stuff all the time. I've got classes, I've got these things, we've got Bible talks, and all that. So it's harder for me to find a day off, because everyone wants to do everything on the weekend. And so I'm really trying to learn how to do that. And that conference really, I think, sealed the deal for me. If you don't do this in some sense, you're gonna really burn out quick.
That's awesome.
So that was a big one. And then there's many other things just good about mental health and staying anchored, and just a lot of the connections I made were phenomenal. I mean, I have the notebook somewhere over here from the conference, but yeah, it was great. I really just and I think it was awesome for the people I brought to. They really got to see a whole new world. They probably felt like a little out of place, but I think it was really a good growing experience for all of us, and it really bonded us together too. While being there.
Yeah. What does it mean to you to live a no regrets life?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, after that senior year of high school, that's kind of what I knew I always wanted to live, because I felt like I was living a mediocre Christianity. And from there and from other conferences, I knew I just wanted to live an extraordinary life. I wanted to live a life that was as much as God could really do, and really, I'm like, God, if you say you can do this, I want to take you at your word. And I think just that's what he's really been showing me this past year, is just living no regrets, sharing your faith wherever you go, not letting fear take over, and just being like, so what, just let me do it, and it sounds kind of like I never thought I would be at that place, because fear dominated a lot of me for a long time. And God's really, I think, having no fear. I think obviously it's going to come in at times and places, and we're going to get scared, but really not letting that control us. I think, because when we let fear, I've just been thinking about this so much, when we let the fear, it's just, God can't use us. He can't use us. He can't do what he really wants to do. And I let that go for a while. And I just was like, man, I just got no regrets. I don't want to say at the end, I didn't get my, counseling degree because it was going to be too hard or too much work. But what could have God done with that, and what will he do? Because I am getting it. And I just want to move somewhere else and just kind of start chilling and get a job, but it's like, well, then all these people wouldn't have become disciples, that I, wouldn't have stayed around for, so it's like, I no regrets was just like, I'm going to go all out while I have this time, and while I'm in this position that I'm in now, and for the rest of my life, because I just don't want to live comfortable anymore, because it's just not satisfying. And that no regrets, I just think, is just going all out every day. Obviously we're going to have hard and tough days, but just really, asking God to show us what that looks like, seeing it in the scriptures, and not looking at it with fear, but looking at it with excitement and adventure, knowing that it's going to be a whole, thing that's just going to be awesome.
That's right. Jacob, thanks so much for coming on the program today.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
And for coming to the Climb Conference. It was great to meet you and great to talk to you more. And I'm so impressed with your faith, your determination, the motivation that drives you to serve God as a student. And I know God's going to use you powerfully in increasing measure as you get older. So all the best to you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you so much for joining the Rob Skinner podcast. If you're enjoying this podcast, please hit the subscribe button and let your friends know about it and how to find it. Because my goal is to inspire you to make this life count, live a no regrets life, and multiply disciples, leaders, and churches. Have a great day and make this life count.